Everyone, welcome to LSI. Welcome to the land down under. I'm not going to try the accent. I would embarrass myself for a few minutes into qualifying. But welcome back to Australia. The last time we were here was the 21st to the 22nd of April 2023. We may have even had an N8 here at that point. I can't quite remember. Absolutely ages ago, we saw Zingy win that race. We saw Robbo P2 with the fastest lap of that race as well. And 19.394, so watch out for the fastest lap in the race there. And then we also saw Sidewinder race once again. They were there for Red Bull, and they got a P3. We got Nifo P4 with Igor P5, and unfortunately Hodge had a DNF, so they can only go upwards from this one. That is an invalidation from Charlie, the current pole sitter, with a .395 in the 15s there, so they're going to have to go again. We've got a few minutes on the clock, so we are going to be having plenty of time to go again. I'm going to try and get Verf back into the lobby, so we'll be right back. Alright, I do apologise for that delay. Hopefully we're good to go. We've had Heischler 15.490. Not too far away, about a tenth from Charlie just under. So they're going to be looking to try and challenge for their third pole in 5 races. They've got 2 pole positions, and I believe that is the last 2 races. Oh, actually, no, it was maybe round 2 Zandvoort, and it was round 4 at Monza. Singapore pole went to Samaxon. I might be getting this wrong. And then I think pole went to Zingy in Austria, or did it go to Samaxon in Austria and go to Zingy in Singapore? That would maybe make more sense. I can't quite remember. I looked at the stats earlier on. My memory doesn't work. I didn't get a chance to note it down, unfortunately. But we do get to know that Charlie currently has the most wins this season, with 2 wins out of the 4 races that we have done. And they have only attended 2 races. So they've currently got 100% win rate, and they've only attended once every 2 weeks. There's been a week break. We are now 2 weeks down the line from Monza. They could possibly continue this good curse, this streak of good fortune, and win once again. How about that? That would be pretty special, wouldn't it? Who wants to try and break the bad curses? Nifo, who had a pretty difficult time in Austria. They had a DNS in Zandvoort, their home Grand Prix, and then unfortunate time penalty towards the end of the Singapore Grand Prix, missing out on that podium. And then they had the disqualification, one of the weirdest disqualifications you can see in league racing. It's understandable why the game did it, but they didn't deserve to be disqualified. So that was one car for the Mercedes team out of contention for points, and that does mean that they lose out to the championship leaders, the new championship leaders, who is now Ferrari, with a brilliant point scoring performance from Sir Maxon and Peanuts, getting a P2 and a P4. They're going to be very happy with that one. And yeah, P5 and a DSQ for Mercedes drops them back a fair few points. So Ferrari are looking very strong at this part of the season. This is our 5th race out of 14, so not many races this season, a bit more than last season, not as many as we're usually used to, so they definitely have a decent advantage right now. We do currently have Sir Maxon as the championship leader, and as of, well, I'm actually not going to confirm the points, because we haven't got the Singapore and Monza reports out, but it's very close. That's what I can tell you right now between Zingy and Sir Maxon. Then we have Heischler, Igor, Charlie, Devon Young, Peanuts, Niffo, Tom Rob, and Nabil in P10. JJ, I think, in P11. And now we're trying to get some good points. We see PJ return to League Racing once again in LSI. Unfortunately, they have had a retirement in the early stages of qualifying. They'll start at the back. We see Vixar back once again. We see Verf Racing, or competing as a reserve driver. We've currently only got Verf out on track right now setting laps, and we've got Eager Pro, Tom Rob, now Jericho Willis, who are about to go for their next laps. We will also see the Ferrari, and I'm not entirely sure which Ferrari that'd be. It'd be Sir Maxon, who you can see just leaves the pit lane Heischer as well. As we get to the final few moments of this session, and it is where it gets to crunch time, Verf will kick that off. After a few connection issues, they're back in the lobby. They're going to set a lap time. They're lucky that they didn't get a retirement, and it's going to be a P8, a 16.049. Not too bad, and there can definitely be a lot in this race. This kind of circuit, there's a lot of DRS straights. It can be super powerful and super competitive. They do actually have a cooldown lap available here. They could do that. They could possibly get in the way of a few cars who are going to want to try and get out as soon as possible. We've got Igor currently going right now for their lap. They go into the first sector to try and get to the second sector, and it looks pretty tidy for now. On the throttle, what are they going to be doing? They've got a car on their inside now. They're outside as well on the exit. Two Mercedes who are very close together, maybe trying to give each other a tow at some point when they get to their final stages. I'm not entirely sure if they're going to want to risk it, though. We'll find out. Eager Pro, DRS available, and we're going to watch on board as we'll send it through the far chicane. It's going to be tough. It's going to be full throttle, down to 7th, full throttle all the way, cutting the curb, up to track limits, ERS and DRS to burst, just a little bit more here on the straight, and then you brake hard as you get to the final marker board on the left-hand side. Try and keep that minimum speed up as you avoid the red curve, avoid the inside curb here, and then into the final chicane, where the traction is super, super low, up to the final corner, up to 4th gear to short shift, DRS available for the final time, and use the rest of the battery that you've been saving for this little straight. A P4 for the championship contender winning in Austria. That's a brilliant place to start. Can they hold it though? That will be their lap. That will be their only lap. It's going to be Sir Maxon, I believe, who will go on board with next to try and set a lap time. I'm sure there's going to be a few more people who will be trying to set lap times, but no, it is going to be Sir Maxon next. What can one of the fastest drivers, the championship leader this season, do today? They've had a pole position so far this season. Can they get a second in round 5? The final corner, the DRS, the ERS up to the line. They've run out of everything to go. And it's going to be provisional pole. 284 improvement right there, and a 241 lap time. Charlie's got a bit to find here on their countrymen. They do go purple. They go a 10th up. This could be enough on the exit. They're losing the rear. Loosey-goosey everywhere. DRS once again, not the final time in this lap. Getting right to the track limits on entry. You can see how hard they're pushing it. Pushing that minimum speed through the corners. The final chicane comes up. They try and keep the accuracy that they had earlier on in the lap with the track limits. Try and hustle it round the final corner. DRS is available, and they had a bit more ERS up to the line, I think, so it will be full throttle, but it will not be enough. In the end, they lost time right there. Heischler to P3. We've got Zingy, who makes it P4. Eager Pro and Niffo. Niffo we will follow. P6 at the moment. Can they jump the Serbian? They will, and their teammate. A brilliant effort right there. We'll go to Becken, as I believe they're going to be the only other driver to set a lap, but no, they will not be able to, as they invalidated that one. And that is Sir Maxon on pole position for the Australian Grand Prix, their second pole of the season. The championship leader is going to be happy with that one. Charlie, 100% win rate so far this season. The front row is a pretty good place to start considering their statistics in the race. That's pretty awesome. Heischler once again up there in qualifying in P4, and then we have Niffo and Zingy, the two Mercedes, who will be following closely with one another. Igapro, Devon, Peanuts, Verf, Becken will go through the rest of the grid very, very shortly. The two at the back there, PJ and Vixar, not setting lap times in this session. That was qualifying, a pretty awesome one right there to return after the week break. We'll just wait for the timer, and there you go. And that is Sir Maxon taking pole, Charlie P2 and Heischler in P3. That's the rest of the grid. We'll go through the race director just in case, and we will go through the instant section. We will go through the pit stops, and we'll be back for the race. We'll see you in a bit. Ready, hold, go! Who's going to get it into turn one? It's Charlie on the inside line. They've got a decent start, and it's going to be the lead. It's going to be a brilliant lead. Oh, and Sir Maxon loses the car. It's going to leave them vulnerable to Zingy. Zingy, will they try and have a go early on? I don't think they will, but it's going to be Niffo to the middle of the circuit as Heischler drops down the order. Igapro and Devon Young side by side. Devon Young is going to try and get past the former champ, but the champ keeps this side by side. They will not hold it, and they will slot in. Devon now has to follow and catch up a little bit to the Mercedes drivers here. Igapro ahead of Heischler from P3 to P7 is the McLaren driver. No, yes, P3 to P7. Not the best starts right there from the two-time pole sitter so far. Peanuts P8 following right behind, and they're going to want to try and get that Ferrari up further, as that's going to be Zingy already ahead. And I do wonder, is the other tyres looking a bit different? It is going to be Sir Maxon on the hard, and that is going to be Sir Maxon moving a little bit late to the racing line under braking there. I'm sure Niffo's not going to be too pleased with that one. Niffo losing that position to their teammate at the start, but they haven't really lost anything at all, as they of course gained a position on Heischler. So they stay where they are. Hard tyres for Sir Maxon as we get to lap 2. We've also got Igapro on the same strategy with Heischler and Verf. That would explain explain why Heisler's dropped down, and they've also lost another position now to Peanuts, but it was a big drop very quickly. So Maxim did not have the same drop. We are all in a train right now. Vixal retires as they have technical difficulties, and I really do appreciate that one. Thank you very much, Vixal, for that. Charlie leads the way, holding their pole position, but they've got a Scotsman instead of a fellow countryman right behind them. Instead of that blazing red Ferrari, the Silver Arrow is following on, and there's another one close by. We've got the Raging Bull, not the Racing Bull, in P5 at the moment. Eager Pro 007 himself. Then we have Peanuts, Heisler, and we have Jericho Willis following closely as a reserve driver, looking to try and get some good data for tomorrow and race carefully, as well as Verf in the Sauber. Becken returns once again. They're currently in P11, and we've got the other 00 agent in P12, Tom Rob, at the back of the pack after the opening laps right here. They don't have any damage, so everyone is good to go. And we've got a phenomenal train going on with Charlie leading the way and DRS about to be enabled. And here comes the racing, the overtaking, the fastest laps as well. An 18.535 there for Nifojan. With the slipstream kicking in, that's definitely going to be a quick one. But we will get that DRS, possibly making things even quicker. We will have to find out how that goes. There is a gap there as PJ and Tom Rob lose a little bit. They've got to try and find a little bit more if they do want to get that DRS. It's very important to do it now, because there are two very long DRS straights that they will have to go through, and it'll be killer if they don't get it. Charlie is going to get their first taste of pressure here from the Scotsman as they'll go to turn 11. That's where they're going to be really looking for it, so they've got to be careful. They do have to be careful. Now Charlie is going to see that Scotsman catch right up. Will Zingy, you look to use the energy? I don't quite know, but surely Sir Maxon's going to put the pressure on, as they are very close. They are very close to the Mercedes. They don't actually go for it, and they continue in the train, but it's a wide moment for Zingy, and it's an opportunity for Sir Maxon that they will not take, and they will let that one go. But now it's an opportunity to Nifo, who also doesn't take it, and all of a sudden everybody bunches up. Looks like Zingy is struggling with the rears early on. That tyre wear is not looking good, and it's gonna be a tough one throughout this race. I have done a race here recently myself, and I can confirm the tyres are pretty crazy. We already see a fastest lap time here for Heisler. They unfortunately get a time penalty with it. That is a really unfortunate timing right there. But yeah, Heisler with the fastest lap on the hard tyre. Sure, they're in a DRS train, but still, you know, a medium tyre could have done that, but they didn't. That's going to be Becken unfortunately losing the car. They are going to be close behind, and they don't have any damage, so they might be able to get back into this one, and hopefully they can do so. Charlie leads the way once again. Zingy, this time a little bit closer, I feel, but still, would they try and do anything? I don't quite know. It really depends if they get pressure here from Sir Maxon, and I don't know if Sir Maxon's really in a rush. They want to try and keep their front wing clean. They've also got a few penalty points that they've got to think about, but it is going to be Zingy thinking about taking that race lead, and they are going to take that race lead. Sir Maxon's going to try and follow on. They're going to look like they're backing out, so they're going to force Charlie to go slightly wide to survive. It's now going to leave them vulnerable to Nifo. Nifo's not going to take a second invitation, but they are going to take an invitation to go off. Oh no! Sir Maxon goes round. It looks like they locked the rear. I don't quite know what happened there. Did they lock the rear, or was there contact? Nifo gets ahead of Charlie as well. Absolutely incredible stuff right here, as it's a defensive throw. It was Charlie who was going really defensive, and Devon Young will come through, breaking away. Does Charlie have DRS? They do. It is DRS trains going on right now, but it's side-by-side DRS training that we're seeing. It's Devon Young who is now ahead of the original pole sitter here. Not pole sitter, race winner from Monza. There you go. I just about got it right in the end. But that was an interesting one. It's also a 1.2 second gap that Nifo has to Zingy. So Zingy has massively gained from that right there. He's trying to use a little bit to catch up to his teammate, because he knows that he's going to get a lot of threats from behind, with Charlie and Eager Pro very close to the back of Devon Young, forcing them to put pressure on Nifo. There's a lot of mind games, a lot of pressurizing and pushing to try and force people to make mistakes, but it's very difficult. It's very close, as you can see. I think there was maybe a little bit of a tap there with Igor and Charlie. They continue, a bit of a moment on the exit for Igor, but they keep it together for now. Heischler is going to be wanting to have a look at making progress back through the field. Now they are on that tyre, of course. We continue. The DRS straight is a quick one, but we still don't see DRS here for Nifo, P2 in that train, and they are getting a bit of pressure there from Devon, who throws a little bit of a look to the inside, but doesn't actually want to have a go at making a move. Zingy's really quite comfortable at this stage of the race. That is Sir Maxon behind Becken. I actually made a mistake there right now, so I do apologise for that one. We're going to see Heischler dropping down, who has a second issue in this race. This time, it's going to be damage on the exit of turn 5. Lucky to not retire from the race in this one, but unfortunately, their race goes from bad to worse. They are really struggling here on track. We've got Sir Maxon going past Becken, and they're going to have to try and catch up to the DRS of the cars ahead. Zingy really doing a good job, and it's a very harsh defense right there from Nifo to the inside, but Devon Young is going to continue to push it. Is Charlie going to really make it 3 wide? No, they're going to make it 2 wide though, with Devon as Igapro goes off the track for a moment into the gravel, but still keeps it in a straight line. And now out of all of this, Zingy has broken a 2-second gap, and I don't think they're worried about helping their teammate, because they can see that everything is going all right now of Nifo, who was defending like a madman, but this time I think it may be over. It's Charlie getting a time penalty, as they can't really see what's going on ahead of them, with the track limits being blocked by the Mercedes up ahead. It's going to be Devon sending it. There's a wheel bang. They are going to look like they're possibly getting through, but still trying to stay ahead as Nifo. It's going to be side by side slightly through turn 5 again. It's going to be DRS here for Devon Young, and Charlie, despite having that time penalty, is now going to get a second opportunity at possibly making that move. And this DRS train is crucial for the cars behind, because they want to try and slingshot here to catch up to Zingy. Devon Young will make that move. How far back will Nifo drop? That's the real question. Is Igapro, who looked to the inside line for a moment, but they do have to back off, and Charlie's off! Charlie's off! They made the move to P3. They immediately lose it. I do not believe it. And Nifo has somehow held on despite not having DRS. The slipstream and the ERS is enough. It was Jericho Willis putting pressure on Peanuts, I think, unless I've just completely blanked out right there. But these guys are making progress as Charlie drops down to P8. Everything is happening at the moment, and I need to double check something so we are good to go, and hopefully we are good to go now. Lovely stuff. Alright, we continue in this race. Lap 8 out of 29, we've got a long way to go. We do have the pit stops to look at, because that's going to be a crucial one. Heischler making that pit stop. They could get an undercut here, but they are going to have to go a very long way on this tyre. You don't want to get damaged when starting a race on a harder compounder tyre. There goes Igor on Devon Young, making the slipstream train work. Devon's now going to be vulnerable to the Mercedes behind, but I think he's going to know better and use some battery to make sure that that doesn't happen. They do so, and it's pretty straightforward. It looked like, well, I assumed it wouldn't be so straightforward, but they look like it was, well, they make it look pretty easy. Not much battery in that car, a lot of understeer as well. That's going to really make Nifo quite impatient. They're going to want to try and find a way through the Red Bull sooner rather than later. It might be time for a double overtake when we get to the second section of DRS training, really. And everybody continues. We've got Peanuts right here in P5 doing a phenomenal job to get to P5 in this race so far. Lap 9 from where they started. They've made some really good progress. So Max on their teammate back in the train, back in this race on the hard tyre. That hard tyre is going to get faster and faster, and they are not out of contention of this race already. That is another time penalty right there. That's for Nifo. It's Heischler, who also has a time penalty, but goes for the fastest lap instead. So we got a lot of time penalties, we got a lot of difficult track limits. It is a very, very difficult track for track limits. We had this man with a time penalty last race for track limits back in Monza. So now they have definitely got to be watching out, because if they got it in Monza, then they're definitely going to be vulnerable for Australia. Monza's not an easy one either, but it's definitely easier than the likes of Australia. It's tough. It is very tough. 2.6 or 2.7, 2.8 seconds Eager Pro has to Zingy. Zingy is going to have to continue to try and make this gap work, because these cars behind are going to be pushing each other to the limits. And what a train we saw right there with Peanuts, who is holding on nicely to the cars ahead, but they had Verf, Charlie and Sir Maxon basically pushing each other through the corner. A spectacle to see, that's for sure, as they go through the first and second corner and down the DRS straight. No moves will be done. Devon Young doesn't want to make the move right now, and they do really have to think about working together at this stage, but not really further behind. They can afford to fight if they're in the DRS of the car ahead, so they can afford to make a few moves, a few attempts, a few throws to the inside line, a few defenses maybe, as long as you are within that DRS range. So Verf gave it a shot, didn't fight it too hard, let it go, and now they're going to go again. They're really going to push it again as they go through to turn 9 and 10, and it looks like Peanuts is just going to have to let this one go, really putting a campaign on to make that move into the chicane, and they do so nicely. And it is a brilliant, brilliant run, and a massive gain here for Verf. It's going to be a big gain here for Devon Young, but they don't want to go for the move here on the car ahead of Eager Pro. He's leading the train. He's gained a tenth or so on Zingy, so he is currently the quicker car, which is brilliant right now for him. He's got that hard tyre, so that's why you can see Devon Young and Nifo trying to work together. Well, I say Nifo, Devon Young is trying to work together with Eagle here, because it can make sure that Nifo doesn't make that move. Double DRS is so difficult to make moves. We're going to see Peanuts and Sir Maxon switch positions. Verf made the move through, so it meant the Ferraris were close together. And now what's going to happen here? Charlie is going to try and find a way through. They saw that the car was being let go ahead. They don't want to miss out. They want to try and get through. They're going to try and fight their way through, and they're going to go all the way to the curb, riding it fully, jumping it almost. They didn't quite get it done. An unsuccessful attack, but successful with the amount of bravery that they had to do that one. That's absolutely awesome. A very, very good defense there from Peanuts to keep them behind and make sure that their teammate doesn't get threatened by the multiple race winners so far this season, whereas Sir Maxon hasn't won a single race. P3, P2, P2 and P2 missing out on Zandvoort, of course, after the post-race penalties. Wow. Eagle Pro has just gained even more, and you can see how dead these medium tyres are. Zingy's going to have to think about going into the pit lane, maybe on the next lap, even this lap possibly. They are going to do so, I thought so, because they'd be under threat of losing DRS, really, or losing the gap that they had, and allowing Eagle to get into DRS range. We're going to see Devon Young go down the order. Oh no, they do go into the pit lane. I just didn't see the pit stop thing. I was mixing up with the time penalty markers that we have. So now there's 2 pit stops right there as Zingy makes that call, and we're going to get both the Red Bulls actually on fresh tyres. Tom Robb making the pit stop a lap earlier on. They're going to have some nice warm tyres. Devon Young trying to follow the 6-time champion to see if they can get a good strategy. They did, I think, a similar thing back in Zandvoort. Didn't quite work out, unfortunately, but there were other factors that did affect Devon Young in that race in the end. So hopefully they're going to try and avoid that this time. They are in a very good position this race so far. We've got Nifo in a position to possibly make a move here on Eagle before they probably dive into the pit lane and follow a lap later for their teammate, with a big mistake right there for Eagle, but even more importantly, a massive mistake for Sir Maxon, who I think goes over track limits. They don't get a time penalty, but that's definitely going to be something to look at later on in this race. In the meantime, Tom Robb did get a time penalty, and that will be added into their race at the end when everyone crosses the line. And it is going to be Niffo into the pit lane as expected. Anyone else going to go into the pit lane? It doesn't look like it. They all continue. No, it's going to be Charlie and Jericho Willis into the pit lane. The two Ferraris are going to follow one another. Peanuts on the medium tire, so expected to pit, whereas Sir Maxon, Verf and Igor can follow each other. And that is, wow, Sir Maxon really pushing to the left-hand side as they go for the move, and that is P2. A brilliant effort, really trying to put a charge on. And now they are they're right behind the lead car. Just for a moment, of course, we saw as Zingy made that pit stop, they were P2. So they've made it basically to P3. I mean, we're going to see some interesting situations, of course, with the pit stops, that's for sure. So I don't know how this one's going to work. We've got Zingy leading by 2.1 seconds over Devon Young. We've got Charlie, who is ahead of Niffo. So a brilliant outlap right there for Charlie to stay ahead of Niffo. Niffo just had a little bit of a struggle compared to Charlie. Actually, no, they pitted on the same lap, so they've just lost out that position. Overtake has been done by Charlie on the pit lane exit, so a brilliant job right there. They've got the job done. 2.7 seconds though to Charlie and Devon Young. That one lap difference is absolutely crazy. Simaxon, Igor Pro and Verf are going to have a really difficult time to try and make a move. Verf actually goes through as Igor, I don't know if they made a mistake, but I think they made a mistake and then allowed Verf to go through. DRS, ERS is going to be available for them to use and try and catch that gap back up, as it's not going to be available for Peanuts to really make a move with the tyres that they have. But they're really trying to make it the long way around on these tyres, so they have a bit of an advantage later on. It's a risk, but it's also possibly rewarding, because if there's a safety car that happens in a lap or two and they haven't made that pit stop still, then they would just gain absolutely massively. But they are going to have to make that call soon, because we do know around Austria you can risk getting punctures if you stay out a little bit too long. 4 seconds Zingy has to PJ, so look at that. Absolutely incredible. We're going to have a quick look at the gap to the leader. They've got 12 seconds, a massive gain. That just shows how the fresh tyres are definitely going to be advantageous. But of course we're going to see Sir Max on Verf and Igor on softer tyres and on fresher tyres, as well as PJ on fresher tyres. So maybe they'll have the advantage, and maybe it will be enough later on. There are a fair few overtaking opportunities around this circuit, but there are possibilities to stay within DRS strains and maybe make a move once again on your rival, even if they overtake you. So we're going to have to look into that one. It's going to be Peanuts into the pit lane, and PJ will follow on. That's not really going to be too many questions asked, as they have really pushed the limits here on this tyre. And now we've got Devon Young, who's still very far ahead of Charlie at the moment. We've got Niffo, who is following closely behind, so these guys need to work together here. Devon Young has been catching slowly but surely to Zingy, so a brilliant effort right here from the Brit, and they're trying to make it work. They are going to have a look at maybe making that move on the race leader. Effectively, Zingy was leading earlier on, now only 10 seconds away from Igor Pro and the lead train, so they are really making it work quite nicely now. And of course Sir Max on Verf and Igor, despite having the better tyres, are going to have a lot of work to do to try and make some moves here. It's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough, and the battery is not going to be easy to manage either. Their advantage will be the very beneficial tyres towards the end of this Grand Prix, and I do believe it will be absolutely crucial, and they'll possibly be thanking themselves for it. Devon Young continues to try and push on to catch, but this time loses a little bit as they've now got dropped back by a tenth or two. Charlie has actually gained by a massive amount as well, despite not really DRS training with Niffo. So they really have worked quite nicely with the Racing Bull to get that done. 4.9 seconds between them and Tom Rob. They're looking to try and get a few pit stops from the cars ahead and maybe fill that gap in so they can get back into this train. They've got pressures from Jericho, Becken as well. We've got Peanuts, who's all the way down to P11 after those pit stop. So that's what we're going to possibly see from the likes of Samaxon, Igapro, and Verf, of course. So it's going to be a tough one. They're going to go very far down, probably even behind Heischler and maybe even PJ at this point. We're going to get a move right here from Igor. That would suggest that they're looking to make the pit stop on this lap. That could be a clear indicator as they try and make the moves before they do go into that pit lane and pit for new tyres. That is definitely the best indicator for it. Will they do it? Are they going for the dummy, or are they going to try and go for a move on Samaxon on the next lap? Maybe that's what they're trying to do. They don't go into the pit lane, they follow the championship leader. What they once again make a mistake on the exit, but they're not going to allow Verf to go this time, and they are going to sit behind the Ferrari car. They do have to make sure that they don't do that too many times, because that final corner is brutal, and if you do hit that inside wall, it could be the end of your day. It's going to be Nifo getting the fastest lap whilst being within DRS range of Charlie. It's going to be DRS range for Charlie as Devon Young's dropped about half a second from Zingy, and that was enough to allow Charlie to get that DRS and bring this train close together. These guys have to continue to try and work together to catch up to Zingy. I don't know what Nifo is going to say about it, if they're going to try and fight these guys to prevent them from catching up to Zingy. I don't know how they're going to work. I don't know what Nifo's intentions are in this race, if they're going to just try and get the best result for themselves, because overall getting the best result for yourself will get you a very good result for your team. It just depends if they want to try and prioritize Zingy at this stage of the season already. It would be a bit early to do so, but it's not impossible. It's Nifo ahead of Devon Young. It's ahead, Charlie also ahead, sorry, of Devon Young. It's not Nifo going to be going for that move on Charlie. They both had DRS as they made the move on that Red Bull earlier on, who didn't get the DRS. So they didn't really challenge into turn 11. That is Igor and Verf into the pit lane, and they're going to make that medium tyre stop. Zingy does get the 3-second time penalty that we were talking about earlier, and that is going to make their race even more difficult. They won in Singapore, one race so far this season, and we're in round 5. They're really struggling with the track limits so far in the last couple of races, but we've got Charlie, Nifo on time penalties. We've got Devon Young on clean track limits at the moment. Igapro, Verf, and Samaxon also doing the same along with Peanuts. Everyone else has at least a 3-second time penalty. Looking at those time penalties, with Verf now getting one all of a sudden, we've got a lot of 3 seconds. We've got 9 seconds for Becken, and that is it. Everybody else that has a time penalty has a 3-second. Igapro 6 seconds behind Devon Young, and Verf is currently just ahead of Jericho Willis, and they are right behind Igor, of course. So actually, Peanuts interestingly dropping back as much as they did. It's an interesting one. They do have much better tyres, that's for sure, but yeah, a strange one to drop down to where they did, even though they were on the back of that train, and they should actually be further ahead, Verf and Igor, because they pitted earlier on. So Peanuts must have had an issue. They've got past their fellow countryman and former teammate, so that is good news, of course. We're going to see Samaxon, the former race leader, drop down. We're going to also see Heischler drop down, who goes back into the pit lane after having more issues. Zingy now leads by 1.5 seconds. They've got Nifo for company and Devon Young following closely. We see Samaxon come out just ahead of Igapro and Verf. It's Verf to the outside line, who wanted to have a possible move, but it's not going to work, and it's going to be Igor getting ahead out of all of that. P5 there for the Serbian driver, and now Samaxon has a chance to warm up their tyres one lap later than Igor and Verf, and they're going to have a slight advantage, and they're going to have a huge advantage compared to the other cars. They're only going to do, what I say, 11 laps on this tyre, so they will have a decent amount of grip towards the end, but those final few laps, it might not be ideal. That being said, it may be as enough, because those hard tyres up in front of them are also going to be pretty worn to the end of this Grand Prix. That might work out in their favour. Maybe Peanuts has made that right call in doing that, and waiting on that medium tyre earlier on. Now, Igapro has had some brilliant pace so far this race. They've got a lot of work to do, and they've got to work with Samaxon here. They can definitely bring that time or that gap down, but it's not going to be easy. And of course, they don't have any time penalties. We're going to see the top 4 in a train as they catch up. Well, I say they catch up. Nifo was within DRS just for a moment to Zingy, but then they backed off. I believe Devon Young is still currently the net race leader, but they don't have DRS once again. So I do wonder if Nifo is backing off here and trying to stay close to Zingy, but also not allow the other cars to really make anything work too much. I don't quite know. That's a difficult one, as we saw Charlie and Nifo trying to figure out where to go on track, and Devon Young is going to follow straight around the outside and make that move quite easily. And I don't quite know what's going to happen here, but we're going to have to look into it a little bit later on in a few laps time. I don't really want to talk about it too much because I really don't know what's going to happen. We're going to get Charlie staying ahead. They had the DRS, they caught up nicely to Zingy. I thought that we're going to see Devon Young go for that slingshot move, but Charlie wanted to stay ahead, and now they have that DRS range. I think Nifo wanted to try and prevent that DRS range, so it would allow Zingy to stay ahead, because that's 4 points difference between P1 and P2 in LSI. That would have been a brilliant opportunity, but it didn't quite work out, and now Devon Young, with no time penalty, has a severe advantage. In the meantime, we've seen Eager Pro also get a time penalty, fastest lap as well, but a time penalty, and that's going to make their race even more difficult. So Maxon now has a clear advantage, and they're going to get this move into the next few corners. Turn 3 will be pretty straightforward, and Eager Pro makes the wise move of not fighting that one, as it's a 5.5 second gap already. After pitting for some more fresh tyres, we see Heischler go for another fastest lap right there. We're going to see Eager Pro making the move as they continue to slipstream. We're going to see a challenge for the lead, as Charlie wanted to have a go but didn't quite make it work. All Devon Young needs to do is stay within the lines, and they're going to have a brilliant opportunity at making this work. Lap 21 to go to lap 22 out of 29. And of course, you want to try and get a move on track if you can. You really want to avoid letting cars ahead of you, because if they try and get a time penalty removed, then it's going to be a bit more difficult. That being said, around Australia, it's very easy to get track limits, so you may be safe compared to other circuits for bugs, etc. That being said, at not this corner, but on the exit of this corner, you can possibly get, or you could a while ago get immediate time penalties, but I don't believe that's in this game anymore. I would hope so, at least. Now, 4.2 seconds Sir Maxon has gained right now with Eager Pro, of course. Verth wasn't able to stay with the two in front of them, as Jericho Willis also drops back, but they don't have any pressure from Tom Robb at the moment. That's going to be Verth getting another time penalty in this race so far, giving their all, but just on the track limits, it's not really working out so well. And now DRS is available for the Racing Bull, but not for the Mercedes. The Scotsman drops to P2 for the first time in this race since the opening laps, and it's a little bit of a difficult one because they haven't had this much pressure for a long time in this race, but they are a 6-time champion, so I'm sure that they are perfectly capable of dealing with this. And Charlie, they had that DRS, they didn't have any pressure. Zingy was watching out for Devon Young right behind, but of course they had Nifo to communicate with, and they could see if Devon had turned the battery off or not, and whether Zingy needed to use battery to stay ahead or not. And that does mean Zingy was able to stay in P2 quite nicely. I'm sure it wasn't that complicated, but you know what? I'm thinking about the possibilities, and it's something to consider when you, of course, have another teammate close behind you in a battle up front. It's a brilliant thing. 3.4 seconds, gaining a whole second in just under a lap, or just over an entire lap for Sir Maxon and Igor. Igor just on the edge of DRS here, so they're going to have to try and catch up to Sir Maxon rather than making a slipstream work, it looks like. Maybe they could have a go into turn 11. I don't quite know. We're not going to look at this battle because there won't be any moves, so we are going to see Eager Pro catch up to Sir Maxon, but no, they won't be going for that move. They have one lap older tyres compared to the Ferrari. Shouldn't be that much, but of course around this circuit it seems like it is a bit of a difference. 4 seconds now as Igor and Samaxon are completely rapid. You've got the F1.5 contenders here in P7 and P8 getting a bit of a taste for what is for tomorrow. We've got Tom Robb in P9, and then the last point scorer right now is Peanuts after a really disappointing pit lane outlap, I should say, which is such a shame because they were in that battle as they were in Monza looking for some great points once again, but they are now close to the back of Tom Robb looking to try and make a move. They don't have any time penalties at the moment, so they could possibly get this move done later on in this race quite easily. Becken, P11, not too far away from this battle, and then we have PJ, sorry, P12 returning once again, and Heisler just trying to salvage what they can, take away the fastest lap from other drivers. That's what they're trying to do here. We're going to have Charlie being pressured by Zingy. The outside line, it's side by side into turn 9, as Charlie was trying to push with all their might. There's going to be contact on the exit. I do not believe what I've just seen. I do not believe it. And Devon Young has damage. Furious they will be. I don't know what to say. On the exit, through to turn 10 and into the wall. Into the wall goes Nifo. They do not have any front wing. No safety car will be deployed, and Devon Young has to try and continue and hope that the cars ahead don't break away. But they've got a really tall order on their hands, and they've got a very quick Samaxon right behind them. That has been everything right here. That could have been the deciding factor. That could allow Samaxon to try and take their first win of the season. That is brilliant. Absolutely incredible for Samaxon, but terrible for Nifo and Devon Young, who have had really difficult starts to the season. They don't deserve the difficulties that they've had, but it's happened. And Nifo goes to the back of the pack in just a few moments. Absolutely tragic right there. They'll look to try and go for the fastest lap over Heisler here. Lap 25 out of 29. It's going to be difficult to come back from that one. And it was very difficult. We saw, of course, Zingy side by side. We're going to see Tom Robb retiring, and it will be a safety car. And everything will bunch up again. Absolutely spectacular stuff here in the closing stages of Australia. Absolutely insane. On the exit, have they hit the right-hand side barrier, maybe? I don't quite know. But Tom Robb, in the final moments, crashes out. It's going to allow everyone to get back into this. It's going to allow fresh tyres. It's going to make it very difficult for everyone on time penalties, that's for sure. Zingy leads the way and makes that call. Soft tyres it will be. It would make sense that everybody does the same thing here, but no. Charlie's gone for the different strategy, and maybe that can work. It's going to be tough, but it can maybe work, especially with the grid bunched up as they are. We're not going to have that many laps under the safety car. We're going to be racing on lap 28. That being said, we're not going to have any DRS. We're going to have 2 laps of racing. It's going to be absolutely brutal. Samaxon also opting for the same strategy, and they are now the lead car without any time penalties. They have jumped Devon Young, of course. Devon Young is now with a front wing. But they do have to try and get ahead of the Ferrari, and with the tyre advantage that they have, it could be possible, and they could win for the first time in LSI F1 for a long time, in LSI overall for a long time as well. Of course, considering the circumstance, it does have to be questioned here. With that crash of Tom Robb, I'm sure they can provide footage and prove that that was not an intentional crash, because that has brought Devon Young back into the battle. As it stood, it looked like Devon was going to lose the race victory and end up dropping back to P3, P4. But now this does give them a much easier chance of getting a P2 here in this race. We will be going racing once again at the end of lap 27 to start lap 28. It's 2 laps of racing, no DRS. They're going to have to try and manage their battery all the way to the end. 50-50 would be an ideal split, but that being said, in this game, you can save battery a lot easier, so it is going to be a very strategical game. It's going to be so tough on the mind. It's going to be an absolutely crazy one. We've got Zingy, who's led a significant amount of this Grand Prix. Time penalties did not make it easy. Charlie, time penalties as well for them. So Maxon, your pole sitter, who dropped to the back of the pack. And they've done it before to win an LSI back in Mexico last season. And they're going to try and do it again to win here in LSI, take their first win of the season, and extends their championship lead. That would be a hell of a story. Now we need to look, just before we go racing once again, at the time penalty. 3 seconds for everyone in the top 6 if they have a time penalty. 6 seconds for Ver, 15 for Becken. We've got 3 seconds for PJ, Niffer and Peanuts, and 6 seconds for Heischler. It's all going to be difficult when we cross the line, of course, but it's a severe advantage if you don't have anything. And it's going to be a pressurized situation for sure, and Zingy is going to try and masterclass the race start once again, and they're going to try and bunch up the pack right here. It's going to be very, very, very interesting. The safety car comes into the final few corners, and Zingy's already gone for it, trying to keep the revs up so they don't get the engine limiter. But they do have the engine limiter. They're trying to make it work, and they have made it work. Absolutely crazy. The safety car is into the pit lane, and Charlie holds on. They are close, but Sir Maxon didn't quite spot it. I don't think they spotted it, but that time penalty range might be enough, but Zingy's done the right thing, as they're now going to try and see if they can gain on Devon Young to make sure that they finish ahead and maybe, just maybe, get a podium out of this one. That would be a brilliant effort if they could do, but a brilliant sprint, a brilliant start there from the Scotsman, as we expected. Not that early, to be honest, but they got the job done, and that is absolutely incredible. Sir Maxon has a bit of a gap to try and use some battery. They'll try and catch up, but I don't think they're going to be able to make any moves. They don't really need to worry about that. They just need to try and stay ahead of Devon Young, who's got a car in between. They need to get past Igor. Devon has got a bit to do right here, but will Igor fight this, or will they let it go? The outside line is not going to work. It's not going to work here for Devon. On the exit, will they have a go into turn 11? They're going to try and use the battery, I am sure, but it's not going to be enough. And Igor is trying to make everything work right now. They are racing for themselves, rightfully so. They're trying to hold on to that position and maybe hope that something happens. It's worth a shot. We're going to start the final lap of the Grand Prix. Zingy and Charlie need to decide this one on track for themselves. It's going to be slipstream and ERS only. Setup difference only. It's going to be Charlie for the fastest lap. Will they hold that? Will they hold that? I don't quite know. DRS will be available on the final half of this lap, and they might just lose it, Zingy. They might just lose it towards the final moments. There's contact. There is contact. Sir Maxon catches up massively. We're all of a sudden going to get a huge bunch up as the Scotsman is trying to save a little bit, trying to save a bit for the straights. And is it going to be enough on the exit up to track limits? They push absolutely everything. They're saving the battery to allow Charlie to go for the move here, but I believe it's double DRS. I don't know if that's the right call. They're going to try and get it on the slipstream. They're going to try their absolute hardest to get it back. Sir Maxon just watches up ahead. They don't need to push. push. It's a poor exit here for Zingy. It's going to be Sir Maxon making a clean move around the outside. There's nothing that can be done. Eager Pro, would they try and push here into the final chicane? It's side by side with Devon Young and Jericho Willis. I do not believe it. What has happened? Devon Young drops further. It's not going to change anything up to the line in the end. Charlie comes around the final corner to cross the line first, but it's Sir Maxon who will win the Australian Grand Prix. It's going to be Devon Young who gets the P3 and loses to Charlie after all of that. Absolutely incredible stuff, and I don't know what has happened right there with Devon Young, but all of a sudden there was fighting going on and they lost out. Sir Maxon, driver of the day, and I think that is well deserved. Very well deserved indeed. Going from first to last to first. Incredible. That gap, that stat right there doesn't tell the full story, does it? Sir Maxon wins for the first time this season. It's Charlie in P2, and it's going to be Devon Young in P3. We get Zingy, Eager Pro, Jericho Willis, Niffo, PJ Verth, Peanuts, Heichler, Becken, DNFing was Tom, and Vixau earlier on. And maximum points here for Sir Maxon, 21. That is phenomenal. This is the race director. This is the incident section. And then we will go actually up once again, actually. I'm just going to get this once again because it's a lot to go through. And then we will go to the pit stops. And we will be back for the post-race interviews after an incredible Australian Grand Prix. Welcome back, Australia. We'll see you next time. We'll see you in a bit, in a couple of minutes for the interviews. Hello everyone, welcome to the post-race interviews of the Australian Grand Prix. That was one hell of a race to return back. Heischler, it was a tough one, a pretty decent qualifying position-wise, but it didn't quite work out that hard at the start, and then just a few more issues later on into the race.
Yeah, I could have got pole, but I fucked up, or I made a mistake on the last corner. So yeah, that's why I didn't got pole, and I wouldn't say the hards were a bad choice still. Sadly, some drivers just think they are. I should say some driver thinks he is on his own on the track most of the times, so he just decided to push me wide, which helped his teammate, which wasn't ideal, and that just meant that I kept dropping back. I had an illegal overtake on Nifo, which I didn't even overtake him, I thought, so I had to lift a little bit on the exit of turn 2, which I did, and that cost me dropping back, and then yeah, it all became worse and worse. I'm not sure why. I'm usually not getting that triggered or anything by being behind medium runners, because I know medium runners are quicker for that moment, so I was like, okay, I can still like come back from it if I just keep it clean. So I don't really know why it was sort of such a bad race at the start, and then from there I just was driving around, probably at the best pace. I got the fastest lap, whilst Simaxon had the same tires and DRS, so that tells me that my pace was quite good today. Yeah, I don't know why in this league particularly I just have these races where it's not going well, and it's our multiple races, so yeah, it's annoying. It's now kind of season over for me in terms of the championship, because I will miss a race. So I'll just maybe drive it out. I don't know yet. I will see.
Fair enough. Well, moving on for this one, it's one to forget. Saudi Arabia, if you're there, it's a pretty good circuit, I believe, for you in the past. Quite enjoy it.
It's not been a good circuit for me in the past in terms of results, but I do enjoy the race. Yeah, I just hope it's not like a lot of those races with the switch I had at Jeddah, that something happens and then sadly I'm not able to win, whilst I'm usually quite quick there.
All the best, Taisha. I hope it turns around next time, and thank you very much for your efforts today. Thank you very much for staying in this race and giving it everything.
Thank you.
And we move on to Tom. Tom, a really, really unfortunate result there. It was a tough one. The train was very, very close together at the beginning. Can you take us through your entire race?
Yeah, it was a real difficult race. I started way further back than I expected, but I feel like there wasn't more in my car and with the setup. So that's really unfortunate. Then with the GS train to start, I just saw good drivers like Heisch and Charlie, Maxon being off track and losing quite a lot of positions. So I was thinking like, maybe I can gain some positions and then hit a slight earlier undercut, and because I knew from testing that the undercut should be quite powerful, but it didn't work out like I expected it, so I completely stayed at the position I were, like I was in, which was really annoying, and I felt like my tire wear throughout the race was a lot worse than in training. So I struggled quite early with grip on the hard tires, which I really loved in the practice. Yeah, and then in the end I was just sliding through the high-speed corner where I crashed later. Yeah, and then I just hoped to stay on track. Unfortunately, I clipped the inside curb so that I bounced on it. And then as soon as I gained contact with the ground again, I was on the curb and just flung me into was just really unfortunate. Like P9, P10 could have been possible in the end, but I feel like my only major problem today was the setup. Like I knew my setup wouldn't be the fastest one, because I sacrificed a lot of top speed for comfortability in the slow speed sections. And then that was like such a problem for me staying close. But I don't know why, like in the middle sector in the qualifying, I was one of the fastest and the slowest by a while into the last sector. But then the race was the complete opposite. So I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, well, that's a bit of a mystery there, but you've identified that the setup maybe is something to work on for next time. Saudi Arabia, it's a difficult one on controller, I believe, but are you looking forward to that?
Definitely, I love Saudi Arabia. I hope I can get a bit of practice in, because there are 2-3 more of blind turns, which I struggle quite a lot with without having enough practice. But I feel like that I can go there at good pace. So I hope I just can do it like there.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I hope it goes better next time, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. And we move on to Charlie. Charlie, that was a crazy race. I'm going to be honest, I'm just going to let you go through it because a lot happened. Obviously starting high up and finishing pretty high up in the end as well.
I mean, starting in P2, finishing in P2, like overall, like if you were just to look at the results, it's pretty good. But yeah, lots of things were happening in this race. I don't know. I'm not happy with how some people are racing. It just creates unnecessary incidents. It's just like dangerous. I don't know. I made mistakes myself as well, but I would say I had the superior pace today because I was able to, you know, fight my way back again. So yeah, I think at some point I was like P9. I don't know. Somehow I managed to get myself back into the lead fight. Yeah, but like I just want to comment on how people are racing because like she's slowing down on purpose, and I get if you want to try and like help your teammate. There's nothing with that, but like pressuring someone into like I don't know, going for moves that are really dangerous. Like forcing someone into a mistake is also okay, but like seeing that people are fighting in front and like literally makes no sense to like fight for position. Like especially in early stages of the race, like it just creates unnecessary incidents, in my opinion, like dangerous moments. Also just literally slowing down in some sections just to, you know, protect your position or protect the position of your teammate or like regain ERS. Like I had a moment where I was behind a slower car and I literally saw two angry drivers just coming with, I don't know, like 20 kilometers of overspeed behind me into the fast chicane, and like, you know, you see that and you're just panicking, and I think that was when I made the mistake when I went to the gravel at the fast chicane. So yeah, I don't know, it's just like people just cannot really, you know, chill out, I think. It's like unnecessary involvement into some like unnecessary incidents. Like I really just don't enjoy that.
Yeah, I do get it, and just a note to everyone here: if you do have any issues with the race, of course, do make sure you report it. We're getting back on top of that now, so hopefully Australia should be.
I don't think there is anything to report, but
well, obviously, if there's continuous problems throughout the race, and maybe even if something isn't to be necessarily severely penalised, it could definitely be noted for future reference. So it's always worth it, and we can look into that, and then hopefully it can help everybody have better races in the future. So I still think it's worth it, and we do appreciate those that do put the effort into it and make reports, because it does help us out definitely a lot. Yeah, it's a tough one. The result, of course, doesn't really tell the true story. I don't want to keep this going for too long, but I do want to ask, time penalty wise, lots of people had them. Was it difficult with time penalties, or do you feel like the time penalty that you got today was just a little bit of a silly mistake? I don't quite know what it's like.
Definitely on the mediums. The mediums were a horrible tire. It was really easy to just go a little bit wide and gain a track limit warning. With the racing that happened today, it was also easy to just make a mistake. But yeah, I think only on the mediums. Like, I think I gained in the 3 second like 5 laps in or something, and then on the hards I only gained like 2 warnings through the whole stint, because I don't know, there was I think 1 mistake and like from pressure, I guess. But yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Charlie. Saudi, I don't believe you're going to be there, if I'm correct in saying that. So is
Wait,
it going to be
when is it?
Next week? Saudi would be. I can't remember the dates now. Give me a second.
28.
Yes.
I think I'm gonna be there.
Fair enough. Well, hopefully we can see you there. Is that a good circuit for you? Do you like that one?
It's an okay circuit, I guess.
Well, look, if it helps, every 2 races. So obviously every 2 weeks you seem to win, but if you are there in Saudi Arabia, every 2 races you've won a race. Can you keep that up? I'm sure you can. I hope it goes well. Sorry, do you like that circuit?
I've won on track today also.
Yeah, that's
if
true.
it counts. Well, I'll try to do everything I can. I think I'll be happy with a P5.
Fair enough. Well, thank you very much, Charlie. Really, really good effort today. Great points on the table as well. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
And we move on to Devon. Devon, I'm going to do exactly the same as I did with Charlie here. I'm going to let you just talk, because there's a lot happened in that race. Brilliant start. Very, very close together. It was close together throughout the entire thing. And then the last couple of laps got incredibly complicated.
Yeah, agreed, really. Yeah, I think, I don't know, a bit flustered myself, really. Like you said, a lot happened. I think, yeah, some of the main things is, like, I had a good start, and, yeah, it was going decent. I wasn't, Zingy got away, so, I think my first sort of, like, mission, or, like, first sort of, like, thing to do was stay as close as possible, maybe work together so that he didn't escape too much. I wasn't really worried about catching him, because he wasn't really like going away too far. The gap was sort of 3 seconds. Whether he was just like saving his tires, I don't know, but it stayed similar, so I wasn't too stressed about catching him. When he pit, I saw he pit, like, obviously because he was quite far ahead of me. I had the time to react and also pit. I was kind of hoping that I could pit and then maybe catch up to him and work together with him, and we would have an undercut and then also work together. I couldn't quite catch up. I was like 4 attempts at one point, but then it wasn't really working. The gap was kind of staying the same, which is unfortunate. So that sort of stayed the same in that like aspect, where I was just sort of so far behind him, and we obviously both done an undercut, so there wasn't anyone with us for a little while until the people that pitted like a lap later caught up, which was Charlie and Nifo, because they were DRS training off of each other. When they came, so they both had penalties, so I sort of just, I didn't have any penalties obviously, so I just stuck behind and worked together with them a little bit. We ended up catching Zingy, and then that was going on for a while. I think the only worry was maybe some Maxon catching, but to be honest, I don't think he would have, because he was slowly sort of catching less and less, and we were DRS training quite well, so if he did catch, I don't think it would have been easy for him to get past, so I wasn't too worried. And then, yeah, kind of randomly, Nifo decided to burn all of his energy down one of the straights, and then that kind of just made everyone else react. So I think, yeah, Charlie and Zingy were too wide, and then me and Nifo were too wide. We went through the corner fine. I left him room, he left me room, but then he sort of decided to go wide. Well, I didn't decide. I don't think he did it on purpose, but he unfortunately went wide onto the curb and very unfortunately sort of span into me. Didn't quite spin to the side of me, span in front of me, and it gave me wing damage. So that was, and I mean, from that point, I was kind of just knew like there wasn't going to be anything I could do. I was going to lose, obviously the penalty range to the top two, and then I was going to get overtaken by who else was behind me. And then miracle, there was a safety car. So that was, I mean, yeah, I was back in it then really. Unfortunately, obviously, I had the wing damage, so I did lose 2 positions in the pits. To Igor and Smexon, which is unfortunate because obviously Smexon was the only person without a penalty. And then yeah, got underway. I think yeah, the restart was weird. It kind of, everyone was spread out before we even started, so that was frustrating. I couldn't really get past Igor because he was already so far ahead, and obviously we have the same tyres, so I don't have any more advantage than he does. So I tried everything I could. I burnt my energy and didn't quite get past him, but I was like, okay, that's fine. I mean, let's just like keep going. Obviously they have a penalty, I don't. In the end, I just sort of stuck behind. I was like, you know, like I'll take a P2. I knew it was going to be a P2 because I was in that range. And then yeah, unfortunately, towards the end, I'm not sure what well, I don't know what number corner it is, but unexpectedly kind of got attacked by Jericho, who's obviously the lower tier, and he has penalties and I don't. I mean, I could go a lot into that, but I won't right now because I don't want to really, that's not the place to do it really. But yeah, that is unfortunate, and I'm a little bit frustrated about that because it was an easy P2. Obviously I wanted the P1, but I will settle for a P2. But yeah, lost out to that through what feels like no fault of my own really. But I mean, I don't want to sound too like negative. It was fun, and it's a podium. Obviously I've been struggling a little bit to get above P5. I think like towards the end of the races I've been dropping off a little bit, so it's good to sort of still be up there at the end. And yeah, I mean, I'm happy with the podium, but it's always frustrating when you know there was more to be had. I mean, you never know what could have happened if Nifo didn't spin, or if any of that didn't happen. I think there was a very high chance of a win, if not at least a battle for a win, not just yeah, I don't know, not much else to say, but it's unfortunate, but I'm still happy.
Definitely, considering the circumstances you were in throughout that race, it's pretty gut-wrenching, and I do feel for you there. But P7 to P3, as you said, considering the P5s that you were getting, that's a phenomenal amount of progress there. So, you know, you've made the progress upwards. You can try and keep on that trajectory to Saudi. Do you think that's a good circuit for you? It's going to be another crazy one, I think.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think if I raced this one. Yeah, probably have in F1 24. And I think I maybe somewhat enjoyed it, surprisingly. There's not many circuits to enjoy with a new handling, but maybe like I think the way the cars handle kind of benefit from Jeddah a little bit, just because of the way like it's all high speed, and you know, it's kind of fun. It's its own little like circuit, so I don't know how well I do. I don't have many ideas, but we'll have to see.
We will have to see. Thank you very much, Devon, and we will see you next time. Really good effort and really well done on the podium. I know it's not what it could have been, but still, it's a very, very good achievement, so well done today.
Thank you, Aaron.
And we move on to PJ. PJ, welcome back, by the way. Great to see you. Once again, Australia, a difficult circuit, but you got it done. You got some good points. Are you happy with that race? Can you take us through it?
Yeah, I'm absolutely happy. You know, I wasn't a good friend of this year's game. I only have like 40 hours and haven't played for half a year. And today I thought, I have time, I could race. So I did 1 hour of practice, and the first 30 minutes I was just doing settings and just trying not to spin or to you know, stay on track. The other 30 minutes worked good, so I thought, okay, I could try. But I couldn't imagine that I could stay with the pack the whole time. I mean, my goal was just to try and survive and stay on track and finish the race without crashes or 2 laps behind. So I'm really, really happy with finishing and even with getting points.
Indeed. Well, the last time we raced at Australia was season 10. You were actually a permanent driver in that season for Alpine, so that's an interesting stat. Pretty random stat, but yeah, great points there, and yeah, awesome stuff. And it is great to see you. Just to clarify,
Yeah, it was
to everybody.
very funny.
Yeah, clarify everybody. PJ is the first ever LSI driver to sign up, so it's brilliant to still see him around today. I was watching some 2020 and 2021 races from you the other day. It's yeah, awesome.
I am the OG.
You are the OG. Saudi Arabia, whether you're there or not, I know that is a circuit that you really do love, and those were the races that I was watching. Whether you are there or not, is that a circuit that you like? I'm sure it is. And yeah.
I mean, in the last year's game, I loved it. I had such good races there, and I was really close to the people in front. So maybe if I find some time, I will see if I can catch up more to the guys in front, because today I was not pushing to the absolute limit and just trying to stay on track. So let's see how much time I've got.
Awesome. Well, I will hope. I will hope and I will pray, but really, really good to see you today. Thank you very much, PJ. Congratulations on the points, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Love to be back.
Awesome. And we finished the interviews with Samaxon. Samaxon, well, you finally got there after a few races. The top step of the podium is yours. It wasn't easy, though. You've done a Mexico 2.0 from last season. Up the top, back to the back, the very back, and then back to the top. I think he's here.
And now it works.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Really
Yeah.
well done today. Can you take us through your race? It was it was a lot.
Yeah. So firstly, the whole of today's day, I just had a massive headache that didn't really let me think straight. And then I did not expect getting E1 in quali. That was definitely not what I expected, as I was struggling with my setup even like just before in the race, and like just before quali in the race session. I just asked Charlie for random numbers and changed my setup to it. So thank you, Charlie, for the good setup. And and then at the start, just tried to stay alive on the hards. Was with the we kept with the train. I don't remember which lap was it, but Charlie went onto the grass into second to last corner a little, and because of me just being tired and going the same line as he did a little slide while I just completely lost the car and went 180 degrees, so I was almost last. Then I was just gaining slowly the time, getting back to places after the medium tires. After the medium tire runners pitted, I was in a train with Igor and Verve. I don't know if Igor at the start didn't really want to switch TRS to gain some time, but okay. They pitted on lap 17, I pitted on lap 18, and then it was just getting that tire difference gap and actually bringing to the top 4. Yeah, it was top 4. The Nifu and Devon had a crash, so that gave me and Igor 2 places, and then we were around those 3 seconds behind the top 2 before the safety car, so without me getting a penalty, I would probably still be P1 if I didn't get it. And after the safety car came out, just pit for mediums. I wasn't sure to go softs or mediums, but I went for mediums. and I think it somewhat worked. I was expecting Zingy to do the same as last race, so letting Charlie go on the last lap and then slowing me down, but it actually didn't happen, so thank you, Zingy. And I would like to keep that for the rest of the races. And now, as I think I'm leading in the championship by 5 points, 6 points. I think it will be 6 points after.
It might be.
Yeah, I think it will be 6 points with fastest lap. So
Yeah, I think possibly. Maybe even more. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check, and we'll get those
we can just.
reports out from Monza and Singapore very soon.
Yeah, so we can continue being on that hype train of getting P1s, P2s, just staying consistent at the top.
Mhm.
And I think that's what I will have to continue to be in the fight for the championship and maybe even win it.
Was there any
Thank
point this race that you doubted the strategy that you started with, or was your headache just too much to think about that?
No, I never adopted the strategy. After the spin, I was expecting P6, P5, so.
Fair enough. That's awesome. Yeah, brilliant race from you. Saudi Arabia, can you keep it going? Can you get another pole?
I'm not sure about getting pole. Lately I'm trying to make my setups more race stable. And not only quali, as I think I was really good in quali last season, but then in the races just the pace wasn't there, or it was easy to make the mistake. Now I think it's getting better and just keeping out the pace with the fastest ones. I know that Heish, maybe if he didn't had that contact or spin, I don't remember what happened to him. Maybe he would be also with the top. He was starting on the hards as well, so it might have been even a little bit easier to catch up with him switching DRS more frequently.
Yeah.
But like everything can happen, so he could have spun, I could have spun. I had I think 5 big moments in this race where I could have just went into the wall, and it didn't happen, so I'm just grateful for staying on the track.
Awesome. Really well done today. We've said it again. When I saw you down the order on what lap it wasn't great, but I'm gonna be honest, I knew that you've done it before to get back up, and there's a lot of DRS straights, so I didn't think it was out of question to get back up. So really well done today, and you've done it. Thank you very much, and I will leave it there. I think I asked you about Saudi Arabia already, didn't I? I believe I did. I think. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think I did. All right. Thank you very much, Maxon. Really well done today. Congratulations. That's the first win of the season. And that's been it. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure. We will see you tomorrow for the F1.5 EU Championship. The Australian Grand Prix for that race will be coming around. And then we will see you next week for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. We can't wait. In a bit.